One of my favorite stories that I have was actually from my internship. I was working in San Diego at a hospital, and most of the work we did was on the inpatient units in the hospital. And my job was to work in the ICU, and I worked there for 6 months. And there were lots of challenges, and there were lots of really interesting patients I worked with. Some people who had brain surgery, and people who had major car accidents, who were dealing with all kinds of physical recovery and heart surgery, cardiac problems. But this one day, we would go into the hospital and ask the nurses for referrals, and they would tell us who they thought we should see based on our criteria. And one of these days, the nurses said, "Oh, there's this elderly gentleman in this room, and he and his wife actually are in there right now, and I'm sure they would really love to have some music to break up the monotony of the day." And he also had dementia. But I was working with this couple, and we were singing old songs, and we were talking about their relationship, and it was really lovely. And at this one point, this woman came into the room kind of frantic, and she said, "Sorry to interrupt. My son is being extubated 2 rooms down, and we were wondering if you could play some Beatles songs during the extubation." And I didn't hear what she had said. I didn't hear the extubation part, but I was in the middle of a session, and so I said, "Oh, do you think we could wait a few minutes? I'm just working with these people, and we're wrapping up." And she said, she's like, they're actually going to extubate him like right now, and we just want he really loves Beatles songs, and we just really wish that you could come and play a couple while he's being extubated. And so the elderly couple said, "Oh no, go ahead, it's fine." So I left, and I went over to this group of people, and it was this 18-year-old kid who had been in a jet ski accident, and he had been in a coma for several weeks, and he had very little brain activity, and his family had decided that they were going to have him extubated, but then also to send him to the OR because he was going to pass away when they extubated him. And so this was the moment that I walked into, and this is when I was in my training too, so I hadn't really had a lot of experience with death and dying, and also with dealing with this large group of family members who has pretty high expectations for what's about to happen. And so I sort of pulled myself up by my bootstraps, and I went over and I played a couple of Beatles songs that I thought were appropriate in that moment. And the family afterwards was so appreciative. After they took him away to the OR, they were so appreciative, and the doctors and nurses also were so appreciative, and people would come over and they say, "That was really amazing." And I didn't really understand at the time why it was amazing, but I think that when people are in that kind of a situation and it's so quiet for them, and it's such an empty situation, there are all these beeping noises in the hospital, but it's so empty and quiet. And I think that in that scenario, music for them was a way to fill that space and to fill the emptiness and to allow them to connect with the situation in a more spiritual way. And that was one of the most life-changing and career-changing moments of my life.